Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Woo, okay, I have to figure out how far away to stand from this. It is so great to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't think of a better way to celebrate the start of spring than with a 3MT because I always leave the 3MT full of hope, and so I hope you will too because the weather's not exactly inspiring hope right now, so this is going to be your spring hope. I've been asked to ask all of you to not turn on the microphones in front of you. I'm not sure why you would do that, but don't turn your microphones on. It'll mess with our audio. My name's Tracy Raivio. It's great to see you all. I'm the Vice-Provost and Dean of the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. And I want to start our time together today by acknowledging that the University of Alberta is located on Treaty 6 territory, and we respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence, whose ways of knowing, being, learning, and connecting to each other and the land continue to enrich our community every day. I also want to acknowledge some special guests and VIPs in the audience. So we have here Provost Verna and Chancellor Nizar Somji. Thank you so much for being here. Hooray. I've also been chatting with a bunch of senators that are here from Senate. Thank you so much, senators, for coming out to support the 3MT. We're really grateful to have you. We have a number of colleagues from leadership at the University of Alberta. Melissa Padfield, Deputy Provost Students and Enrollment, is here. Yay! We also have Norma Rodenberg, Vice Provost and Registrar, as well as Karsten Mundell, Vice Provost Learning Initiatives. Thank you for being here. And Kelly, I see you snuck in at the back. Kelly Spencer, Associate VP Advancement, is here. Hooray! We're in her U of A green. I saw Ivan sneak in too. Ivan Fair, Vice Dean of Engineering, is here up in the back row trying to be nondescript. And I'm really thrilled to have Howie Simpson here, the 2025 3MT champ. Where are you, Howie? Yay, thank you for coming. The 3MT does really build cohorts and communities of students that go through all of this together, and so we always love when you come back to the competition every year. All right, I'm so pleased to be hosting this celebration of the more than 40 talented graduate student researchers and 15 finalists who took part in this year's 3MT competition. Yeah, let's clap for them. We're going to clap a lot for them, but why not start now? Yeah, let's do that. Now, I think most of you are probably familiar with the 3MT, but I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown. It started at the University of Queensland in 2008, and now it's held at more than 900 universities in over 85 countries. So it's no exaggeration to say that the 3MT is really a global phenomenon. And I think it's worth pausing to describe the rules of the competition, just to underscore what all of these young scholars have accomplished in being here today. The 3MT, as those of you that have been to it in the past will know, is like an elevator pitch in a really large elevator. Students just have 3 minutes to communicate the basics of their research project to a non-specialist audience. They can use only one static image to support their talk, and other than that, there are no slide decks, no props, nothing but their enthusiasm, their ideas, and their creativity. We're delighted at GPS to organize and host the 3MT each year. This is our 12th annual competition. I love that so much, and we think it's a really outstanding way to showcase the incredible graduate research that's happening at the U of A and its impact within and beyond the university. And we're not alone in feeling this way. To underscore how important 3MT is to the university community, I'd like to invite 2 special guests to share words of welcome. The first is Chancellor Nizar Jaffer Somji. Mr. Chancellor, would you like to come up and offer a few words?
Well, thank you very much, Tracy, and good afternoon to all of you, and in particular to the 15 finalists who are here today. I hope your heart is beating and you're feeling those butterflies as you get ready. And so remember, you have to be nice to me because I'm one of the judges too, so I look forward to that. But no, on a serious note, congratulations on being here. I know it's not easy to make your way all the way through this process, and also to be able to do, I used to talk to someone who says, why speak a sentence when a book will do? And so being able to condense your life's work or your 3 years' work or so on into 3 minutes takes special skill. And so I want to congratulate you on making it this far and wish you all the very best. I think one of the things, in my almost 2 years as Chancellor, it never ceases to amaze me, is the amazing talent that the university attracts, the kind of talent that brings the best with creativity, innovation, passion, commitment. It's just inspiring, and for me, in spite of my advanced age, I feel young every time I'm here. So thank you all, and thank you, Tracy, for inviting me, and I look forward to listening to you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chancellor. And now I'm really pleased to welcome our Provost and Vice President Academic, Verna Yu. Provost Yu.
All right, this has got to be one of my favorite events. I love coming to 3MT, and I apologize, I do have to leave a little bit earlier. But it's just one of those really inspiring events where we see incredible graduate students who really are the engine of the university. And I think on that behalf from the University of Alberta, we just want to be thankful for all of you for being part of our community. We're really excited because I think what you're doing is uplifting the whole people. When I think about the newly launched values for the university, you exemplify all aspects of that, whether it be the unwavering curiosity, the impact on community, the spirit of all that we're doing, and the type of work that you're doing and what is going to be leading to is really going to be so impactful for not just the university, but for the community and globally and beyond. They might need more water because, it's a nerve-wracking time, but I think as our Chancellor said, I've always said that it's harder to be succinct than it is to be very verbose. But we look forward to your 3 minutes, and just like I said, congratulations to all of you, and we look so forward to your success in the presentation. So congratulations.
Thanks, Nizar and Verna. We're really happy to have you here at the event this year. And in speaking of invaluable supporters, I'd like to thank the 15 people, faculty members, senators, and postdoctoral scholars, I know some of you are here, who contributed their time and expertise to judge the 3MT semifinals. If you were a semifinal judge, I invite you to give the crowd a wave so we can acknowledge you. Yeah, raise your hands. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And finally, a very special introduction. I'd like you to meet the 3 people. Well, you've already met one of them, but I'd like to introduce our 3 judges who've taken on the really hard task of judging the 3MT finals this year. Our team this year know a lot about groundbreaking research and about the importance of effective communication and outreach in enabling collaboration across sectors, communities, and academic disciplines. I'll ask them to stand as I introduce them in alphabetical order. First is Jason Acker, the Associate Vice President in the Office of the Vice President Research. Jason is responsible for managing a framework that supports programs and services encompassing all areas of research integrity at the U of A. He's also a professor in the Department of Laboratory Medicine and Pathology and a serial entrepreneur who has spun off successful companies, including Panthera, Cryo Solutions, which was acquired in 2025 by BioLife Solutions. Thank you, Jason, for being here. Next, we're delighted to welcome back Trudy Callaghan, the publisher of Edify magazine and a past 3MT judge. Trudy, as I mentioned, is the publisher of Edify magazine, a past 3MT judge, and the founder and principal of Odd Media, a multidisciplinary marketing firm. She's also a leader in the local arts community, chairing the board of directors of Ballet Edmonton. Thank you so much, Trudy, for being here. And finally, the guests that you've already met, we're grateful to our university chancellor for providing his insights to the judging panel. Thank you. Oh, I'm not done introducing you. Our 23rd chancellor, Nizar Somji, is a community leader dedicated to advances in industrial innovation. He's the founder of multiple successful businesses over 30 years and has contributed enormously to both our province and our university. He serves, among other roles, as a member of EPCOR's board of directors and chair of KV Capital. Thank you so much for being here, Chancellor. All right, so the judges have a big task ahead of them in choosing between our wonderful presenters. We're so grateful for their time, but without further ado, let's get on to the main event and get to those presentations. So a little bit about how we're going to run the competition this evening. I will introduce our presenters today in groups of 5, and Rob will announce each talk and usher each speaker forward. There will be a short pause of less than 1 minute after each presentation to allow the judges to tabulate their scores. Okay, so here we go. Our first 5 presenters will share research on everything from genetic medicine to artificial intelligence and 3D printing. Our presenters are Sabrina Haque, Mohana Talasila, Sina Kazemi, Laura Lopez Aldana, and Erfan Rafieikia. I messed that up, sorry. Rafieikia, I think. All right, good luck.
Right, thank you so much, Tracy. So our first presenter, Sabrina Haque from the Neuroscience and Mental Health Institute. And Sabrina's presentation is called A Cure with a Passport.
Imagine you are going to have your first child. You are so excited. You picture their first smile, their first step. But days after birth, something is not right. Your baby struggles to breathe. They are too weak to feed, and within months, they develop severe muscle weakness, heart and liver problem. Their nerves stop working. And before the first birthday, they are gone. How trenching, right? This is the reality of every child born with a severe genetic disease called spinal muscular atrophy. It happens due to a mistake in a single gene, what's known as mutation. One tiny error that prevents the cell from properly reading its own genetic instructions. As a result, a protein needed for survival isn't produced in sufficient amount. Right now, most treatments require repeated injections directly into the spinal fluid, an extremely invasive and difficult procedure. And even then, they primarily treat the nervous system, not the heart, the muscle, or the whole body. It's like putting out a fire in a single room while the flames continue to spread through the rest of the house. Clearly, we need a better way. My research addresses this gap by combining 2 essential steps: fixing the error and making sure it's delivered perfectly. First, I develop a DNA-like molecule that ensures the genetic instructions are read correctly. Think of it as a traffic signal inside the cell. When the cell takes a wrong turn due to that mistake, it fails to produce the survival protein. My therapy blocks this wrong turn and redirects the cell down to the correct path, allowing it to produce what is needed to survive. But fixing the error is only half the battle. The next challenge is delivery. How do we transport the therapy to every affected organ? To solve this, my research came up with something extraordinary. I pair that DNA-like therapy with a small molecule that naturally exists in the body. It's like giving the therapy a biological passport. Since the body recognizes it as familiar, it allows the treatment to travel across the body and it reaches to the cell where it needs the most. This is how we move from partial rescue to the whole body repair. This is how we ensure you get to see your child taking the first step and living a long, happy life. Thank you.
Great, our next presenter, Mohana Talasila from the Department of Biological Sciences. Mohana's presentation is called Lessons from Survivor Pines.
Who here has driven through Banff or Jasper? A lot of us, right? As you take in those breathtaking views, it's kind of hard to miss massive patches of red and gray pine trees. You're looking at a battlefield. This is the aftermath of a biological war led by mountain pine beetle and its fungal partner choking the trees from inside out. But if you look closely, there's still few green trees standing tall while their neighbors are dead. These survivors are our teachers. And my research is about attending this masterclass taught by these survivor pines on finding out what their secret is. And today, I'm going to give you all a sneak peek at this masterclass. First, we must intercept their secret intelligence, their DNA. By comparing survivor to dead trees, we identify genes that are acting as a biological armor. But I don't have 50 years to wait for a pine just to see if the armor holds. I need a combat simulation. So I use a stunt double in the lab, a fast-growing weed called Arabidopsis. By equipping this lab soldier with the pine armor, I can test the defenses within a matter of days instead of having to wait decades. However, just having an armor isn't enough. It needs to be activated. You need to have the reflexes to be able to use it. This brings me to the protein signals. Okay, think of it as the tree's internal panic button. When the beetle lands, the tree doesn't have ages to forge a new armor. It needs to hit this button and start mobilizing the defenses it already has, so that the trees of tomorrow can survive, fight these attacks, and live for a better day. Okay, but you might wonder, why does this all matter if it's just a lab experiment? Because let me tell you, it is not. It's a survival plan because the forests in Western Canada are at a breaking point. By uncovering these secrets from the survivors today, we can ensure the forests of tomorrow are born ready with their shields up. My goal is to move from just watching these trees and forests die to breeding stronger, better trees for tomorrow, so that the next time you guys drive through the mountains, you can ask yourself, are you looking at the end of a forest or the beginning of a new one? Thank you.
Great, our next presenter, Sina Kazemi from the Department of Medicine. Sina's presentation is called Teaching Exoskeletons to Walk Your Way.
Please raise your hand if you've heard of Iron Man. Almost everyone. And for those of you who haven't, he's a superhero who wears a powerful robotic suit that lets him fly and move with superhuman strength. In robotics, we call that kind of suit an exoskeleton, an external skeleton that people can wear to support their movement. Unlike Iron Man's suit, real exoskeletons don't help people fly. Not yet. They help people walk again. After a stroke or spinal cord injury, many people lose the ability to move the way they want to. Robotic exoskeleton can support their leg and help them stand and walk again. But here's a problem. Do they have to walk like a robot? Human walking is smooth, adaptive, and personal. Robotic walking is often stiff, repetitive, and generic. Every person moves differently, yet most exoskeletons follow the same defined movement pattern. That's where my research begins. Instead of forcing a person to adapt to a robot, what if we could teach the robot to adapt to the person? Imagine creating a digital replica of someone wearing an exoskeleton, a virtual model that behaves just like the real human and the real robot together. Inside this virtual environment, we can observe how human body and the robot interact. We can test adjustment. We can personalize movement pattern. In other words, we can teach the exoskeleton to walk, not like a machine, but like that specific individual. But building this system is not simple. There is no single software that understands both the complexity of a human body and control of a robotic device. So my solution is to connect specialized tools together. One system models the human biomechanics. Another controls the robotic device. And I design a real-time framework that allows them to communicate continuously. When the physical robot moves, its digital twin moves at the same time. When the digital model predicts a better movement, the physical robot can adjust immediately. It becomes a living conversation between body and machine. The goal is simple: to create a digital twin that helps exoskeletons move the way people want to move. Because walking is not just about movement. It's about independence, confidence, and the freedom to go through the world your own way. And if we can teach the exoskeleton to understand the people who wear them, then we are not just building better robots. We are empowering people to walk their way. Thank you.
Right, our next presenter, Laura Lopez Aldana from the Department of Agricultural, Food, and Nutritional Science. Laura's presentation is called Reshaping Dysphagia.
Let's start with a quick show of hands. How many of you would eat the food you see on the left? So, a fair amount of you. But now imagine if your food looked like that for a year, maybe even the rest of your life. That is the reality for individuals living with swallowing difficulties, or better known as dysphagia, a condition currently affecting up to 1 in 17 Canadians. It has a variety of causes from Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, and even medical practices such as intubation. These individuals require soft foods such as this one to prevent things such as choking. However, they're not seen as the most visually appealing, and they're compared to things like dog food. This can lead to low food consumption, that could lead to malnutrition, feelings of isolation, that could lead to depression. Well, this is where my research comes in. I focused on using 3D food printing. Okay, I know it sounds like something crazy straight out of Star Trek, but it's a lot more simple than that. It works by taking a syringe. We fill that syringe with soft foods, such as this one. The machine pushes the food out layer by layer to make complex shapes. So we can make something that looks like a drumstick, a ravioli, or even a teddy bear, while still keeping the right softness necessary for safe swallowing. I surveyed 230 participants to find what their preferred shapes were when it came to 3D printed food. I found that they preferred shapes that matched the flavor. So a drumstick for something that is made with chicken. Even before we taste food, our eyes decide how we feel about it. And when food looks appealing, people are more willing to eat it. So even though 3D food printing is a way to improve the appearance, my research goes beyond this. I also evaluated how texture is affected by the different printing parameters such as the speed and flow rate. I evaluated texture using techniques such as texture profile analysis, and I made a surprising discovery. I found that by changing something as small as the size of the opening on the syringe, we can alter the food's stickiness and consistency. In other words, by changing the printing parameters, we can fine-tune the food's texture. Okay, this is important because dysphagia diets are not a one-size-fits-all. Different individuals require different textures based on their swallowing capability. So, 3D food printing allows us to tailor the food to the individual rather than forcing the individual to adapt to the food. While 3D food printing sounds like something out of science fiction, it is the future for those with dysphagia. Thank you.
Right, our next presenter is Erfan Rafieikia from the Department of Accounting and Business Analytics. Erfan's presentation is called Machine Learning for Faster Solutions to Big Problems.
I assume all of us have ordered from Amazon here. Amazon delivers tens of thousands of packages every day in the city of Edmonton. And in order to deliver all those packages, it needs to optimize a huge set of operational decisions. Decisions like assignments of trucks to warehouses, assignments of packages in those warehouses to the trucks, routing of each truck, and many other decisions, which makes this problem a numerical, huge puzzle. But the bad news is that this problem is not easy to solve because it needs a lot of energy and computation power. So let's say the gray square on the left side of the slide represents this huge puzzle. What my research does, it breaks down this huge puzzle into many small, manageable problems. In the case of the delivery for the Edmonton, let's say it breaks the city of the Edmonton into neighborhoods and solves the delivery problem for each neighborhood separately and then aggregates the solution together at the end. It leads to a more efficient approach. But the question we ask is that, is there any way to improve this approach even more? Hopefully, the answer is yes. How? We exploit the similarity between the neighborhoods. What similarity? There are some similarities between the neighborhoods in the sense of traffic pattern, in the sense of regional location in the city, in the sense of climate, in the sense of their distance from the warehouses, and many other aspects, which leads that these neighborhoods share similar solutions for the delivery problem. So, as you can see in the last picture, the similarities are captured by color. What do we do here? We pick one small problem from the similar group, and we solve that and use the solution of that and machine learning and the similarity that exists between the ones that in the similar group to predict a solution for the rest of the small, tiny problems in that category, similar category, without much sacrifice. So this even leads to more efficient approach because it's by using this approach, companies are going to require less computation power. In simple words, less computers. And also, it's going to be fast, much faster. So it's going to offer high quality service for the customers. But Amazon was just an example for these presentations. This approach is not limited to Amazon. It can be applied to healthcare. For example, huge problems like nurse scheduling or problems like public transportation network design can be addressed by using this approach. So what we do basically, we get big problems, we break them, and using machine learning and similarity to predict the solution for the rest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to our first group of speakers. For our next presenters, we can look forward to them wowing us with talks on topics extending from speech assessments to wheelchair navigation and geological dating, but not the romantic kind. Ha ha ha. They are Shanda, Duggleby, Wenzel, Shika Bharti, Samuel Sang, Srijita Chatterjee, and Akshit Ari. Can't wait to hear your talks.
Super. Thanks, Tracy. Our next presenter, Shanda Duggleby Wenzel from the Department of Rehabilitation Sciences. Shanda's presentation is called When First Impressions Really Matter.
Imagine you have a 4-year-old. They have lots of ideas, but they can't tell you about them because for them, talking is hard. 2 kids in every kindergarten classroom have difficulty talking and listening. These children are more likely to have learning difficulties and mental health difficulties later on, so helping them get the most out of speech therapy is important. When parents and speech therapists work together, treatment is more effective. So getting this relationship off to a good start really matters. That means making sure that parents' experiences with the assessment, the evaluation, and often the first time they meet the speech therapist are positive. Now, we don't know much about parents' experiences with speech assessment, but we do know that for some parents, assessments can be really hard. And a bad first impression can mean a parent is less involved in their child's speech therapy or discontinues it altogether. So we need to know more. But it's not just that we need to know more in general. Most of what we know comes from white English-speaking moms. What about dads? Or parents from different cultural backgrounds or who speak different languages? And does it matter if the assessment was done at the hospital, at the school, or somewhere else? We really need to know more. And that's where my project comes in. I built this study together with parents. I'm interviewing up to 20 mums and dads from a variety of backgrounds to learn from them what it was like when their young child had a speech assessment. I'm thinking about what they're sharing from many different angles, like how their gender, their cultural background, or the languages they speak might impact their experiences. I'm also thinking about how bigger picture factors like policies in our health and education systems may play a part. So far, I've met with 15 parents and I've learned a few things. First, assessments can be stressful, even scary. Second, and let me set the stage, private speech therapy is expensive. Public speech therapy is available, but often only for children with severe delays. That means that at assessment, some parents simultaneously hope that their child's difficulties aren't that bad and that they are severe. With a stronger understanding of parents' experiences, we will build resources. Some will be for parents, say, to help them know what to expect. Some will be for speech therapists, to help them know what to do and what not to do. And some will be for organizations and decision makers to help shape policies that might have an impact. As a speech therapist, a PhD student, and a mom, I know we can make a difference. By helping parents and speech therapists get off on the right foot, we set the stage for trusting relationships so kids can share their ideas with their parents, their friends, and the world.
Our next presenter, Shikha Bharti from the Department of Biological Sciences. Shikha's presentation is called Growing More with Less, Rethinking Phosphorus in Canola.
Imagine you woke up tomorrow and there was no food in your fridge. For a canola plant, waking up without phosphorus fertilizer is exactly that devastating. Phosphorus is like the food of the plant world. It gives plants the energy to grow, to produce flowers, and the seeds that become your cooking oil, your salad dressing, and even the biofuel you use in your cars. Now here's one problem. Phosphorus fertilizers come from open-pit mines in politically unstable regions halfway across the world. We dig up ancient rocks, ship them across oceans, and then spread them into Canadian fields. And what happens next, you might wonder? This beautiful crop, Alberta's golden billion-dollar industry, is surprisingly bad at finding that phosphorus. When we apply fertilizer, that phosphorus gets chemically handcuffed to the soil. Statistically speaking, only 10 to 30% of what farmers actually apply ever gets used. So what do farmers do? They keep applying more, and that leads to multiple issues because now we have an economic crisis. Because essentially, farmers are paying more for a fertilizer that isn't doing its job. And then we have environmental pollution because all this excess fertilizer is running into our lakes and choking our aquatic bodies. But what if we could make the plant better at mining what is already there? That's exactly what my research asks. You see, Alberta soils are full of leftover phosphorus from decades of fertilizers trapped into the soil. And there are some plants which are naturally better at freeing it. In my lab, I am screening canola varieties from all across Canada to find those superstar performers.
I'm particularly looking at those that can partner with helpful soil bacteria to do the mining for them, and the ones that can release natural acids from their roots to unlock the trapped phosphorus. If we can pinpoint the exact proteins and the genetic markers that they make them so much more efficient, we can breed those traits into the varieties that farmers will plant tomorrow. This research isn't just about saving money on fertilizer, although it will do that. This isn't just about protecting our lakes, although it will do that as well. But this is about building a canola industry that can survive whatever comes next, be it climate change, increasing costs, or supply disruptions. We cannot keep digging finite rocks forever. We need a system that works best with what we already have. My research can be the first step towards a canola that doesn't need a constant IV drip of imported fertilizer. We can teach canola to be smarter, to mine better, and to waste less. And that means for the canola plant, there will always be food on the table. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Samuel Sang from the Department of Physical Therapy. Samuel's presentation is called From Slopes to Sidewalks.
So let me tell you a story about ski trails and how we can apply that to wheelchair navigation. So if any of you have gone skiing, snowboarding, or hiking, you probably recognize these symbols. Green represents the beginner level trails, blue is intermediate, and black diamond are the most difficult trails. And I remember the very first time I went skiing, it became immediately obvious why this system was necessary. Because you don't want to go down a trail that you're mentally and physically not prepared to do. So my question is, why can't a similar system exist for wheelchair users to help them decide which routes to take? And the problem is that systems like GPS only are concerned about how to get from point A to point B in the shortest time, regardless of whether or not it's even possible for wheelchair users. For wheelchair users, it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey. Because without the right journey, there will be no destination. So my project looks at one aspect of that journey, which is rough and bumpy urban surfaces, like gravel, like bumpy floors. Rough and bumpy surfaces are problematic for 3 reasons. Number 1, they're hard to push through. In the long run, this leads to shoulder overuse injuries and chronic shoulder pain. Number 2, bumpy surfaces cause vibration. Vibration triggers spasms, which are very common for those with spinal cord injury. And finally, if you cannot get to where you need to go, that takes away your independence and that takes away your self-worth as a human being. So my project has 3 stages. First, we build a test dummy to measure the weight distribution of a typical human wheelchair user. Then we attach little vibrational sensors to measure different urban environments, both indoor and outdoor, like you see on the picture. And finally, we take all this information to come up with what might be the greens, the blues, and the blacks. So let's go back to the ski trail system. What about that system works so well? It works because it's simple. And it has to be simple, because the environment is only part 1 of the equation. Part 2 is, what does the end user do with this information? Well, the end user has to make a risk management decision, considering their physical ability and their comfort level, to decide which routes to take and which routes to avoid. So that's the exact same type of decision that wheelchair users need to make. So I'll leave you with one final point, which is that accessibility is more than just washrooms and parking spots. Accessibility is also about information, having the right information to make the right decision. Thank you.
Great. Our next presenter, Srijita Chatterjee from the Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences. Srijita's presentation is called Clocks in the Rocks.
Can you imagine a world without mobile phones, laptop, aeroplanes? Well, I can't. But these may very well be our future if we run out of the essential ingredients called critical minerals to fuel these technologies. Critical minerals such as rare earth elements and niobium are found in a very specific group of igneous rocks called carbonatites that form deep within the earth. But here is the challenge. Carbonatites are rare and Canada is huge. And not all carbonatite has the valuable mineral. So how do we know where to look? Should we search in Quebec, in northern Saskatchewan, or somewhere completely different? That's where my research begins. I study these rocks like a geological detective and try to figure out when, where, and how did these valuable minerals form. Because once we know their origin story, we can predict where to find more of them. And to do so, I use a technique called dating, not a romantic one though. In geology, dating is a method by which we determine the age of the rock. Few minerals contain tiny amount of radioactive elements, particularly uranium, that act like a natural clock. With time, this uranium transforms to lead at a constant rate. And by carefully reading this tiny clock using high precision laser, I can determine when did they form. Now to understand where and how did they form, I also take ultra high resolution images of these rocks using electron beam. In these images, minerals show hidden pattern and growth zones. And these patterns tells me rock story, how it grew, how it changed, and how critical mineral get concentrated within it. By combining these clues, I reconstruct how carbonatite formed and identify the conditions that make them rich in critical minerals. And why does that matter? Because understanding their story helps us to narrow down our search to specific areas, allowing us to move from random guessing to informed prediction. Instead of asking where should we look, we can ask where is the geology telling us to look? And that shift from guessing to understanding helps Canada secure these minerals essential for green energy and modern technology. So it is safe to say that you don't need to worry about your mobile phones and laptops abandoning you, at least for now. Thank you.
And our next presenter, Akshat Airy from the Neuroscience and Mental Health Institute. Akshat's presentation is called Your Brain and Pain in Pixels.
Many of us here have probably heard of or played the game Minecraft. And for those of us who haven't, Minecraft is a game which takes place in a world built entirely out of pixels. And the main character, Steve, explores this pixel world. But what you're looking at right now isn't Steve in Minecraft. It's actually Steve inside someone's brain. In brain imaging, those pixels are called voxels, tiny 3D blocks that map our anatomy. Most of the voxels in our brain contain nerves. My research looks at the trigeminal nerve, which carries pain, touch, and temperature from our face to our brain. We have two of them, one on each side. In a condition called trigeminal neuralgia, a nearby blood vessel starts to press on this nerve, triggering unimaginable pain. When I've asked patients to rate it out of 10, they say 15. To look at the hidden damage, we can look at what the brain is mostly made of: water. When a nerve is healthy, water flows through it smoothly, like a calm river. But when a nerve becomes damaged, that flow becomes chaotic, like whitewater rapids. Using a special type of brain imaging called DTI, I track how that water moves in every voxel. And just like Steve exploring his pixel world, I explore these voxels until I find the trigeminal nerve, those bright green voxels you can see. Water measurements have shown me two surprising things in them. One, even though patients usually feel pain on one side of their face, both nerves show these chaotic water measurements. This disease isn't just a local pinch, it's reshaping our brain's entire wiring. Number two, in patients who have surgery where that blood vessel is moved away, those patients whose pain goes away show a permanent change in their water measurements. But in patients whose pain comes back, their original measurements return. In other words, we can see who will remain pain-free after surgery, and even more importantly, we might be able to see pain before a patient can even feel it. But the trigeminal nerve doesn't end at these bright green voxels. In fact, it pushes even deeper into our brain, into a region called the brainstem. The brainstem is where pain is processed for the first time, but it's also a dense, tangled forest filled with thousands of nerves, making it harder for us to see the trigeminal nerve. But we are already pushing into that forest, developing and improving our brain imaging strategies, not just to learn about this one condition, but to understand the very biology of pain itself. I'll always be a big fan of Minecraft, but instead of building worlds out of voxels, I'm dedicated to learning about the ones that shape the reality of human pain. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now for our last 5 finalists. They will close our presentations with a collection of talks that take us from lung therapy to pipelines and immigrant mental health. They are Arushi Tandon, Harry Wilton-Clark, Marianne Kalini, Daniel Kalista, and Anubhav Tripathi. Can't wait to hear your talks.
Thanks, Tracy. Our next presenter, Arushi Tandon from the Department of Biomedical Engineering. Arushi's presentation is called Small Molecules, Big Impact.
I want you to raise your hand if you ever had a cut, burn, or wound on your skin. And keep that hand raised if you ever put a gel, cream, or Band-Aid on it. Everyone, right? Now I want you to raise your hand if you ever had a lung infection, pneumonia, flu, COVID. And keep that hand raised if you ever put a gel, cream, or Band-Aid on it. No one. Did you know that the cells on our skin and the cells in our lungs are both epithelial cells? Yet, while there's more than 1 million solutions for skin problems, there's next to nothing for lungs. You have the flu, you take a Tylenol, and go to bed. Even when COVID happened, the solution came in the form of a prevention as a vaccine, and not really a treatment for the symptoms of COVID. When you have an infection, there's an attack from the outside in the form of microbes, like viruses, bacteria, fungi. But there's also an attack from the inside of your own body in the form of uncontrolled inflammation, which leads to pain, fever, redness, swelling. When COVID happened, most of the deaths were not because of the virus, but because of this uncontrolled inflammation happening in patients' lungs. My solution is simple: to create something that is both antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. I am using nanocrystalline silver molecules at a nano level, proven successful worldwide for decades on skin, and applying that to lungs. First, I deposit a layer of nanocrystalline silver on a wound dressing using physical vapor deposition.
I am changing the structure of silver here, which changes the chemistry of how it reacts and the biology of how it interacts in the body. Next, I'll extract these nanomolecules from the dressing. I put the dressing in water to allow for dissolution of its two key components. The first has the anti-inflammatory effect, which comes from metallic clusters of silver. The second has the antimicrobial effect, which comes from higher oxidation states of silver. Finally, I take the solution with these molecules and put it into a nebulizer that a patient can inhale. Right now, I'm studying the antimicrobial tests of these dressings, and next year I'll be running an in vivo study for the anti-inflammatory effects. More than 1 billion people on this planet have some sort of lung infection, and there is no comprehensive treatment for their symptoms. My innovation will be one of the first treatments that's antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial, and anti-inflammatory to actually solve and treat lung diseases. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Harry Wilton-Clark from the Department of Medical Genetics. Harry's presentation is called Mad Cats, Fat Rats, and Genetic Band-Aids.
The mad cat ate the fat rat. Sounds like I'm teaching a kid to read, right? But what if I told you this sentence hides one of the fundamental keys of both biology and genetics? Sentences made of simple three-letter words are exactly how your body reads your DNA, genetic code that makes you, you. So what happens when there's an error in this code? Well, there are 6 billion letters in your genetic code, and it might not seem like a big deal, but because the body can only read DNA in sets of 3, it poses a major problem. Look what happens when we get rid of just the letter D in our sentence here. We go from a story about a mad cat to the mac ata tet, totally incomprehensible. In the genetics world, we call this a frame shift mutation. And mutations like this are highly likely to lead to disease, and specifically rare disease. So let's talk about rare disease. The key word, of course, is rare, and it's easy to think it's something you'll never see. However, there are over 7,000 different rare diseases, and so even though they're individually rare, collectively, they're incredibly common. Right now, 1 in 15 children in Canada is being born with a rare disease. Many of these are debilitating, or even fatal. But because they're so individually rare and therefore hard to study, there aren't many treatments for them. 95% of all rare diseases have no effective therapies right now. That brings us to our work. We asked, what if instead of trying to build therapies for each disease individually, we could find a Band-Aid solution that could treat multiple rare diseases at the same time? Specifically, what if we could use a genetic Band-Aid? We work with molecules called antisense oligonucleotides, or what we call our genetic Band-Aids. These Band-Aids bind to mutations in a patient's DNA and hide them from the body, helping to treat disease at the genetic level. So how does this actually work? Well, we already saw how disastrous it is to get rid of just one letter in your genetic code. But what if we skipped an entire word? If we use a genetic Band-Aid to hide the word mad, suddenly we're left with the cat ate the fat rat. It's not identical to that first sentence, but you as a reader still get the gist, and the exact same principle applies in the body. This sounds a little bit far-fetched, but in the last few years alone, 3 different Band-Aids have received approval and are available to help treat patients, and this approach is applicable to about 80% of all rare disease out there. For my project, I partnered directly with a young patient with a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which causes muscle breakdown and eventual death. In partnership with my patient family, we actually designed genetic Band-Aids capable of directly treating his condition in his donated cells. When we took these Band-Aids and gave them to a mouse with muscular dystrophy, we saw total normalization of its capacity for exercise and strength, suggesting high clinical utility. We're now actually looking to launch into a single patient clinical trial to further validate this Band-Aid, not only for muscular dystrophy, but for rare disease as a whole. And so to your body, we might just be making cats a little bit less mad. but to the world, we're building treatment for the untreatable, one Band-Aid at a time. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Marianne Collini from the Department of Rehabilitation Science. Marianne's presentation is called Bridging the Culture Gap.
So before I begin, please raise your hand if you know an immigrant here in Canada. It can be yourself, a loved one, someone you care about. Now please keep your hands up if you know that they struggle to adapt to life here in Canada. Take a look around the room. Okay, thank you. You can put your hands down now. In Canada, the immigrant experience is not just about diversity. It's a shared experience. And one common experience among immigrants here in Canada is wanting to seek out help and not feeling fully understood. Over the past 5 years, Canada has welcomed over 2 million permanent residents. And in 2011, my family and I were among them. We came chasing the North American dream. What we didn't realize is that immigrating came with a heavy, hidden cost. We were navigating a new culture and language. We lost our communities, and we were bringing with us some pretty unresolved trauma. In my communities, we do not talk about these issues. So I wanted to ask one simple question. What do immigrants actually need to feel safe and supported when accessing mental health care? I went to my own Coptic Egyptian community here in Alberta, and I interviewed them. I asked them questions about their immigration stories, their mental health journeys, and what safe and supportive care actually means to them. Their responses led me to one clear solution: culturally competent care. It's care that considers and adheres to a person's cultural and spiritual background and lived experiences. Let me tell you why this matters. Participants in my study expressed something called cultural isolation. They didn't just feel alone here in Canada, they felt heavily misunderstood. They delayed seeking help for years, sometimes over a decade. And when they did seek help, they faced one huge barrier. They were met with Western therapeutic approaches that didn't adhere or consider their spiritual or cultural background. My research advocates for a fundamental shift. We must remove the barrier of understanding from the client to the provider. Culturally competent mental health care workers are not just those who just merely know about different backgrounds and cultures, but those who are constantly have self-directed learning and learn about cultural humility throughout their career. Now, what does this look like practically? It means they're constantly seeking to learn out a client's background and culture. They're adhering care so that it aligns with that culture and background, and that they're also going through an ongoing process of self-reflection of any biases that they may have. In doing so, we can bridge the culture gap. We can make sure that immigrant mental health care is accessible to all immigrants here in Canada, including those in my Coptic community. And in doing so, we can ensure that they can contribute and thrive to the vibrant future of Canada, a future where asking for help is met with just a little bit more understanding. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Daniele Calista from the Department of Chemical and Materials Engineering. Daniele's presentation is called The Invisible Seam, Securing Canada's Energy Network.
Can you recall how your day started? You were probably greeted by a warm home, a hot shower, and hopefully a charged cell phone. Every day, these luxuries are only possible because of an invisible network acting as the arteries of our society. There are pipelines. But as Canada transitions to clean energy, like hydrogen, pipelines must face our harsh climate on top of tougher operating pressures. The industry is demanding tougher, safer steel. To survive these extremes and protect our way of life, we must master how we engineer the pipe itself. So now picture a factory floor with a set of machines over 1,000 feet long that gradually roll a flat sheet of steel into a tube. The two edges come together like a zipper into a weld box where we heat them up with high-frequency electricity, much like an induction cooktop. This is electric resistance welding, or ERW. For scale, nearly half of all tubular products in the world are made using ERW. Now, it sounds high-tech, but in reality, this billion-dollar industry relies less on science and more on a mystic art practiced by operators like Joe the welder. From experience, Joe knows where to set the process styles to get things looking just about right. Consequently, when we want to weld new high-strength steel, it's a costly game of trial and error. A single test weld on these massive pipe mills costs around $10,000. For decades, we have not understood ERW well enough to reliably expand its use. My research models the physics of welding and heat transfer to translate Joe's experience into predictable engineering precision. To do this, I'm partnering with industry to introduce a new concept called the weld point location. As steel moves through the weld V, that high-frequency electricity does two things. It melts the edges, and it generates powerful magnetic forces that push on the molten edges. These forces gradually expel molten steel out of the V, eroding the edges before they actually touch. This ultimately determines the weld point location. Failing to control this erosion creates an unstable weld point, which has already been linked to weaker weld seams. So, when Joe was tweaking the process styles like power and speed, he was actually controlling the weld point. My research uncovers and maps the physics behind these process styles so industry can stop guessing and start predicting exactly how the process will behave. I've harnessed these physics into simple engineering design rules that practitioners are already using, valid for any pipe mill, for any metal alloy, for any application. With these physics-based tools, industry can finally adopt advanced materials without fear. And in doing so, we ensure that the invisible seam at the heart of our energy network is safe, robust, and ready for the future. Thank you.
And our final presenter, Anubhav Tripathi from the Department of Agricultural, Food and Nutritional Science. Anubhav's presentation is called Canola's Cousins to the Rescue.
Think about the last time that you were in trouble. Who did you turn to first? Friends? Parents? Or maybe even Google? But your cousins? Probably not. Yet when Canada's 43 billion canola industry faced a hidden threat, we did something unexpected. We turned to canola's cousins: cabbage, cauliflower, Chinese kale, and broccoli. Now you might be wondering, why does canola need help from its distant vegetable cousins in the first place? Well, the answer lies in the crop itself. Canola is a Canadian invention, bred to produce one of the healthiest vegetable oils in the world. But in perfecting that oil quality, we narrowed its genetic diversity. As diversity shrinks, our ability to improve canola becomes limited. And the improvement we depend on most is exactly the one that's hardest: producing more. For a country that feeds the world with canola, that's a risk we cannot afford. And that's where the cousins come in. But this family reunion was not easy. When we tried crossing canola with its cousins, many embryos did not survive. Seeds simply failed to form. To overcome this, we used a technique called embryo culture, which simply means rescuing young plant embryos and helping them grow. We then selected plants that were of canola quality, because broadening diversity does not mean losing identity. Now the real question is, can that added diversity help us produce more canola? To find out, I use genome-wide association studies. It's a mouthful, I know. Think of it as a detective's work. I scan canola's DNA to find segments inherited from its cousins that help increase yield. Once I find those genetic gifts, we can use them to make canola more productive. And in doing so, we ensure canola continues to feed the world while securing billions for Canada's economy. It seems turning to your cousins can pay off. Thank you.
Wow. There you have it, 15 really remarkably talented communicators. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. They deserve it. Well done. And now we shift the work to the judges, while we get to enjoy the afterglow of the great presentations that we've just heard. While Renee ushers the judges into their deliberation room, we'd like to invite our in-person guests to step outside and stretch your legs and enjoy some appetizers and refreshments. And we'd also like to ask that you take this opportunity to vote for our People's Choice recipient. You can do so whether you're joining us in person or online. Just consult your phone or tablet and go to uab.ca/3MT. That's uab.ca/3MT. But don't wander far. We expect to reconvene in about half an hour, and that could come quickly. So be listening for our announcements and enjoy some socializing. Congratulations again to all the presenters. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed some visiting and a lot of food. Now, we get the moment we've all been waiting for. The judges have reached their decisions. So I want to invite all 15 of our finalists to come take their place on the stage over here. Amazing. One of the great things about the 3MT is that it really does build a cohort of students that travel through these, the training to develop the 3-minute thesis presentation. They do a lot of communications together and practices, and of course go through the pre-competitions to get to the finals. And so by the time they get to the end, they're really a tight-knit group. So it's another thing that I really love about this competition. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, our 15 superb 2026 3-minute thesis finalists. Let's give them a big round of applause. I want to take a moment to congratulate you all, stress what an important accomplishment this is, and how much we appreciate the work and the time that you've put into this project. I hope that every minute that you devoted to your 3MT will pay off for you going forward in those times across your future careers when you'll rely on the communication skills that you've been working on up till today. And we thank you all for being a part of the 3MT family. And now I'd like to invite our judges forward to share a few thoughts on the presentations that we've just heard.
Well, I think I'll go first. I'm a publisher, and so I get to read a lot of writing. It's what we do every day. And I'm going to paraphrase Mark Twain for a moment, who said, "I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have time." And I'm going to tell you that the skill that you have learned in distilling your message to 3 minutes is a skill that you will take with you for your lifetime. And it's a really, really important skill. So first, congratulations on that. And I'm just so impressed. So we do an innovation issue every year. And I'm going to keep these in mind because I think these stories they're powerful, they have grit, and they can do things that will change humanity, and that's a really important thing as well. And I'm going to just encourage you by telling you that in my own life, I've followed James Humes, who he was a presidential speechwriter, but a long time ago. Eisenhower really through Reagan. And he said the art of communication is the language of leadership. And you are leaders. So congratulations.
I'll take a different stance, and just as a graduate supervisor, you can all be proud of representing your groups. You guys did a fantastic job, really distilling your research down to the 3 minutes, which really makes it clear and exciting for everyone in the audience. As Trudy mentioned, one of the great skills that we can develop as researchers is the ability to communicate. And you can do great work, but if you can't communicate it effectively, you're not going to be successful. All of you guys were successful tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Darren and Trudy. Now for the big moment. Dr. Acker, if you would please announce the runner-up in the 2026 University of Alberta 3-minute thesis competition, and when the individual hears their name, can you please come forward to receive your certificate?
Thank you. The runner-up of the 2026 University of Alberta 3-minute thesis competition. the pause. Daniele Calista for his talk. For his talk entitled The Invisible Seam Securing Canada's Energy Network. Congratulations, Calista.
Okay. Now, Mr. Chancellor, over to you to announce the winner.
All right, this is very exciting, and as you know, it's a tremendous accomplishment for the winner, but also for everyone else who participates. So the winner of the 2026 3MT competition is Sabrina Haque for her. For her talk entitled A Cure with a Passport.
All right, congratulations, Sabrina. And we're not finished yet. One of our favorite parts of this event is honoring the person whom our audience has voted as their favorite. It's the People's Choice Award. Trudy, as our community representative, can you please do the honors?
I'm very happy to do this. So People's Choice. The People's Choice Award for the 2026 University of Alberta 3-Minute Thesis competition goes to Laura Lopez Aldana for her talk entitled Reshaping Dysphagia. Yes.
We'll get you in the picture.
Amazing. Congratulations again to everybody. Before we get ready to close the proceedings for the day, I'd like to give our champion the chance to come up and say a few words. So come on up here. Not bounded by time. Not bounded by time.
Probably I'm the winner, but I'm probably not a very good speaker. What you have learned, that was a very polished script that I have practiced over the time, so probably that's why that sounds pretty good. But I would probably encourage everyone to come and participate. This is a great, great platform. I previously used to understand my research to be very complicated, which actually it is, but I was thinking, like, how would I explain this to my mother that she will understand? And that kind of helped me to write what I wrote. And I kind of like to thank you all who helped me. Erin and Rob, those coaching sessions were really, really helpful. Thank you so much for your guidance. And finally, I'd like to thank my partner who is sitting over there. He used to listen to my script probably how many times, I don't know, every single day, and used to tell me probably you should correct this and that. So everything was very helpful. And then I would really, really like to congratulate all the 15 participants. They were really helpful in all those coaching sessions, and you guys did a wonderful job. I learned a lot from you, a lot. And yeah, lastly, thank you everyone to be here. Thank you everyone to be here. And please, everyone, participate. This is a great, great learning opportunity. Thank you.
That is so well said. Thank you so much, Sabrina. I really appreciate that. And I think this is perfect timing. Shanda asked me at the break if they could have a moment because they would like to acknowledge two really important people in this process that helped all of the finalists get to this stage. So Shanda, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. We just wanted to say as a group, a huge thank you to Rob and to Aaron for all of their work, from leading initial information sessions to leading some fabulous, fabulous coaching sessions and just being super responsive all the way through. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shanda. And that brings us to the end of the formal program for today, but not the end of the 3MT 2026. If Sabrina is able, they'll be moving on to compete in the Western Regional Competition in Regina. So let's all cheer for them, and hopefully, Sabrina, you're able to continue your successes in Regina. For now, though, I want to thank our presenters one more time for their incredible work, and I'd also like to thank the judges for their hard work tonight. We couldn't have done it without you. Jason, Chancellor Somji, Trudy, thank you so much, and special thanks to Jeff Allen Productions for the great work on the live stream. And I also want to acknowledge all of the GPS staff members who've contributed to the event over the past months. In particular, professional team Renee Polzine, Aaron Sanderman, Rob Desjardins, and Jay Friesen, as well as communications partner Ashley Bilodeau. Their work, as I've alluded to, includes not only putting together the wonderful event you've just participated in, but also offering multiple workshops across the year on effective communication and community engagement, as well as innovation, entrepreneurship, leadership, career planning, and teaching. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for attending tonight and for supporting graduate student research at the University of Alberta. Let's give everybody in the room a huge thank you. And as Sabrina was encouraging everybody, don't forget to tell your friends, your neighbors, and your colleagues about what you heard tonight and to participate in the event next year. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Thank you for coming.